Inspired by the design of a Russian lover's bow knot tiara, Queen Mary had a similar one made. Comprising of 19 diamond arches, the oriental pearl drops hang from a diamond lover's bow knot with single diamonds and upright pearl spikes. The Queen inherited it from her grandmother and gave it to Princess Diana as a wedding present. In the 19th century, a lover's bow knot tiara was a popular design.
You know, Queen Mary had all these relatives strung out through Germany and Russia, and she used to go in the summer. It was called the gathering of the royal mob. They used to kind of go on their summer holidays together, a very upmarket Butlins or Club Mediterranee with just members of the royal family. And then, of course, they all dressed for dinner in those days, tiaras, the whole bit. And Queen Mary then would have seen jewels that she loved. And the bow knot tiara was something that she had copied by Garrard just before the First World War and the Russian Revolution, 1914, using jewels that, pearls especially, that she had been given as a wedding present, but had it made for herself, gave it to the Queen, who has hardly worn it, and then the Queen gave it to Princess Diana as the future Queen.
The lover's bow knot tiara is one of only 2 pieces of royal jewellery which Diana owned outright. It is part of her legacy.
She used her own personality to make the tiara part of her image. And the lover's knot tiara, which was a wedding present to her from Her Majesty the Queen, I think has created some of the most dramatic images of Diana that we will all remember and cherish. It is too much a part of Diana's legend.
In 1843, Queen Victoria appointed Garrards as the crown jewellers. Many of the royal jewels had been made by Garrards, and when the future King Edward VII married Princess Alexandra in 1863, he gave her a brilliant necklace of festooned diamonds and pearls made by Garrards. It has 8 circular clusters of diamonds with large pearls at the centre of each. The matching earrings are owned by the Queen today, and the oblong diamond brooch belongs to the Queen Mother. Since the accession of her husband to the throne in 1936, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, has often worn Queen Alexandra's necklace. Here, at a film premiere 50 years ago, her elegant manner reflects the majesty of the occasion. The Queen personally pays Garrards to look after her personal collection of jewels. In their workshop, high-quality gems are delicately crafted into stunning jewellery worth thousands of pounds. Prince Charles paid Garrards £28,000 for Princess Diana's sapphire and diamond engagement ring, which has been inherited by her son, Prince William. In 1936, the future of the British monarchy was threatened when the Queen's uncle, King Edward VIII, abdicated to marry the twice-divorced Mrs. Wallis Simpson. This constitutional crisis also led to royal jewels being taken over by an outsider. From the start, Wallis Simpson received in her engagement ring a flawless stone which was half of one of the greatest emeralds in the world. King Edward had ordered the jeweller Cartier to make the ring, and as a regular customer was quoted a special price, £10,000, the equivalent of $500,000 today. Throughout his marriage, he celebrated their relationship by giving his wife numerous jewels to create a priceless collection.
Most of the jewels she had were either bought for her by the besotted future Duke of Windsor, or otherwise they were made up from jewels that he had been given in India, that is, raw stones. But they weren't actually jewels that, say, Queen Victoria had worn.
This was the collection to rival even the Queen's.
When the Duke of Windsor died, it went to the Duchess, and thereafter the bulk of it, as far as I understand, went to charity for AIDS research. They fetched a phenomenal price, something like 10 times more than was expected, because they'd been owned by the Duchess of Windsor, because there'd been all this royal romance connected to them.
One of Wallis's favourite jewels, her ruby necklace, fetched over £1.5 million from a mystery buyer at the Geneva auction in 1987, when the whole collection was sold for a total of £27 million. Buyers included the dress designer Calvin Klein, who bought 4 items for over £870,000. Aaron Spelling, the TV producer of Dynasty, purchased a necklace for his wife, and Elizabeth Taylor bought the Prince of Wales diamond brooch for £350,000, now worth an estimated £1 million.
The Duchess of Windsor's jewels, of course, were sold up for charity. Now, that's something that I don't think we'll be seeing for other members of the royal family. But some pieces did manage to sneak their way back into the royal family. You know, Princess Michael of Kent, who befriended the Duchess before she died, I think maybe she felt a little bit of an outsider and therefore they've had something in common. And she received as a gift a pair of panther earrings, those famous Cartier earrings. And she wears them very occasionally, but not, I would imagine, in front of the Queen.
One of the Queen Mother's favourite pieces of jewellery is a regal Indian tiara and necklace made by Garrards for Queen Victoria in 1853. Originally it contained 2,678 diamonds and 70 opals. But Queen Alexandra had the unlucky opals removed and replaced with rubies from an Indian necklace. The tiara and necklace belong to the state and are technically on loan to the Queen Mother in the course of duty. But her daughter, the Queen, is quoted as saying, "Mummy will give them back one day." At Princess Margaret's wedding in 1960, the crowning glory of her dress was an unusual tiara.
Margaret's tiara was interesting because it wasn't a piece of jewellery that had sort of been handed down from generation or mother to daughter or anything like that. It was a tiara which actually had been bought at Sotheby's by the royal family for £5,500, for those who want to know, from Lord Poltimore. And it is, I'm sure, still a very, very beautiful tiara, totally different from the Hanoverian tiara, which is quite spiky and quite almost graphic looking. Princess Margaret's hair was rather modern. I think it was called the chrysanthemum cut, which is rather devastating today. And being so tiny, or perhaps I suspect also to give the tiara she wore some depth, some kind of presence, she had a hairpiece, and this is the first time ever that we know that a royal bride has worn a hairpiece on her wedding day.
One of Princess Margaret's favourite possessions is a tiara in the 1920s style, which she handed down to her future daughter-in-law, Serena Stanhope. At her wedding to Princess Margaret's son, Lord David Linley, Serena was stylish in her choice of jewellery and wore this simple hand-me-down royal tiara.
It's very interesting how often all brides do tip a nod to something that's gone past, sort of, it's a little tribute, if you like, something like that. But it also gave her height and presence on her wedding day.
In her early years, a young Princess Margaret was the Princess Diana of her day. Years later, this darling of the media was replaced by another beautiful young woman. Princess Diana had arrived. On a visit to Australia in 1983, she wore a glittering diamond necklace lent to her by the Queen, who had received it as a gift from King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. Back in Britain at a banquet hosted by the Queen at Hampton Court, Diana wore a large ice blue sapphire brooch surrounded by a double row of diamonds, a wedding present from the Queen Mother. Later, Diana redesigned the brooch to create a stunning diamond, sapphire and pearl choker, more in keeping with her modern image.
At the beginning, she wore that huge sapphire and diamond cluster in a rather conventional way, rather traditional way. And then, as her style developed, she began to impose her own personality, her own style, to wear her jewellery in very new and fresh and original ways. And it became one of her signature pieces, particularly towards the end of her life, when she began to wear those spectacularly sexy evening gowns with just one huge piece of jewellery.
Another of Diana's wedding presents, this time from the Saudi royal family, was a magnificent suite of sapphires and diamonds.
One of the most important of her wedding gifts came from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and it was a whole suite of jewels. But her favourite piece from this suite was a necklace of diamonds on which was hung a huge Burmese sapphire, surrounded in a much more modern style with baguette diamonds in a setting that we call a ballerina setting. The most dramatic change she made to that set was to create for herself a choker with the sapphires on a band of velvet, which she wore not only as a choker but also as a bandeau around her head, around her forehead, very 20s style. And this was something that she did. It was great fun. She did it on several occasions.
On another occasion, during an official visit to Germany in 1986, Diana wore a fabulous suite of jewels, a gift from the Sultan of Oman, comprising a modern diamond necklace and matching earrings. It was known as the Crescent set. Valued at £1 million, it became one of Diana's favourites, and she wore it with historic and contemporary jewels.
Diana was very clever in mixing old and new. As I said, this was a very contemporary design, and she wore it very well with the Spencer family tiara or with the love knot tiara. And so she created a very special, very royal, very regal look for herself by combining the old and the new in this way.
A royal wedding, and the family bring out their heirlooms. For the Queen, it was her magnificent flower brooch made from the world's largest pink diamond. The world's most perfect pink diamond was made into a daffodil flower brooch by Cartier and given to the Queen as a wedding present from a Canadian millionaire. Its estimated value today is £3 million.